Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
What is good, everybody? Monday night, June 17th, 2024. You're checking out a new episode of the RCWR show. So, the big moment finally went down tonight. Are you guys fulfilled? Are you all excited? I know I am. I'm very curious to see where things go as Uncle Howdy, a.k.a. Bo Dallas, made his triumphant return. A lot of us were under the impression of what were you guys calling it on social media? You guys were calling it Wyatt 6. I think that was the main name that I saw floating around on social media. I just looked at it more so as Uncle Howdy and his disciples until we're given officially what the new stable name is going to be. But Uncle Howdy and his disciples making their debut tonight to close out Monday Night Raw, where, man, you hear the term can't miss episode. You hear that thrown around from time to time for some of your favorite TV shows. But in this case, in regards to this week's WWE Raw, it really did live up to that title. It really did live up to the hype of Can't Miss TV, because besides Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt 5, we need to make sure we say the Wyatt 5. Now, if you want to get technical and you want to say Wyatt 6 because you want to include Bray Wyatt, I hear you on that. But if we're being totally honest with what we saw went down in that final segment, it's the Wyatt 5 pretty much. But besides that, put that to the side, which was totally awesome. And we're going to dissect the hell out of all of that goodness for those final 5 minutes in just a little bit. But besides that, we had great momentum that was starting to build up for Money in the Bank, as we had got pre-qualifying matches on tonight's Raw. The fallout alone from Clash at the Castle, as Damian Priest is still your World Heavyweight Champion. But wait, Seth Rollins making his triumphant return, letting it be known, I'm coming after that belt. And then we've got Drew McIntyre sounding off about getting screwed out of his World Heavyweight Championship opportunity by one CM Punk, and sending shockwaves in the wrestling community. Judgment Day's Dom Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I mean, there was just so much going on this episode. There is a lot to unpack, but it's fun to unpack all of this. This was one of the most well-executed editions of Monday Night Raw that I've seen in quite some time. Loved it on so many levels. Very rare do I find myself saying, you know what, I want to watch this episode back, even though I watched it live in real time. But that's how I'm feeling right now. I think that before I retire for the night, I'm going to watch the episode again, because that's how damn good it was. So a lot to unpack. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend and you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're looking out not just for your pets. Make sure you're also looking out for kids, and you're also looking out for the elderly. We are in the middle. Well, some would say start, but in some places it's the middle, but we are in a phase of a heat wave right now. Definitely over here on the East Coast, a mad heat wave. I know here in the DMV region, we are going to be affected at least for the next 10 days, the way that it's looking right now. And we've got some emergency buses that's trying to provide shelter from the hot sun. We've also got places where you can get some free water, things of that nature. Free transportation is available as well. So, yeah, make sure that you're on top of yourself and your loved ones and your fellow man, fellow neighbor, and make sure that you're doing your best to stay hydrated. Don't play around with that, especially when it comes to kids and pets. Unfortunately, there was a messed up situation in the news that I had heard a couple of days ago where a 5-year-old kid, this was actually in my neighborhood of the DC, Maryland, Virginia region, where a 5-year-old kid was left alone in a car unsupervised, and that child unfortunately passed away due to heat stroke. You know, all the windows were rolled up, all of that. That is just, when you hear that, you're just going, what the hell, right? So stay on top of that. Make sure you guys are staying hydrated, all that good stuff. So let's talk about this episode of Monday Night Raw. Let's unpack this episode because this was just loads freaking good. First off, all the questions that I've been receiving off and on these past couple of months. What do you think about the Wyatt 6? When do you think this new Wyatt stable is going to debut? How do you think this Wyatt stable is going to be? There was even one recent comment that came in within the past 48 hours asking if the Wyatt 6 stable is going to go down like the Nexus stable. And my response has always been the same in regards to questions like what I just said. Went down less than 48 hours ago. Questions that was popping up all throughout these past handful of months. My answer has always been consistent, which is we don't know how exactly this is going to pan out. We don't know how it's going to look. We don't know the members per se that's going to be part of it. Sure, we can daydream. We can fantasize book. We can respond to the reports. But until we see it all materialize, everything is just speculation right now. And my message to that was, let's wait and see what happens. Let's just wait and see if and when it does happen. Let's see how it all comes together. And then even at that, let's make sure that before we really sink our teeth into this, we've got a nice bite-sized sample of work of this new stable. That was my message. Chill, wait till the next episode. All right, now, we finally got it. We saw all the cryptic messages that was going down for these past couple of months with the final message basically promising there will be a massacre on this very day. And man, Uncle Howdy and his disciples, they did not disappoint. I mean, I loved how this all went down fresh off of it, you know, and I knew something was about to go down too, because we had our main event match of the night consisting of a Money in the Bank men's qualifier as Jey Uso got the victory over Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor to advance to the Money in the Bank premium live event. And you're seeing Jey Uso celebrate with the crowd. And you're looking at the clock. If you're like me, you're looking at the clock, you're going, okay, we still got a few minutes left here, so what's going to happen? Like, seriously, somebody about to get jumped? Like, what's going to happen? We're going to take another commercial break, which doesn't make sense because we're technically about to go off the air. How's this going to go down? And before I could really start marinating on all those questions I had going on in my head, we see the lights go out. And you're going, oh, yeah, it's about to go down. Let's see how this plays out. We had this woman come out wearing a hideous white scarred up looking mask. She had jet black hair. She had on this, to me, it looked like a very worn out, dirtied up wedding dress, something of that magnitude. When you saw her stand, you go, hey, I know that wrestler's body anywhere. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with admitting to yourself, hey, I know that wrestler, whether they have a bag over their face or whatever. When you've seen a wrestler in the ring enough times, you start to know how their body looks, okay? And in this particular case, you're looking at this woman's body, you're going, yo, that's Nikki Cross. So you're going, okay, all right, that's the first member. All right, cool. And she's crawling her way. I love how she did that crawl, man. That was badass. I love how she did that through the fog and everything, coming from that iconic Bray Wyatt entrance door with the smoke coming out and the blue light there. I loved all of that. That was badass. And she just gestures to her right, almost kind of directing the camera. And I love how that camera essentially kind of did you know what the camera work reminded me of as we were seeing all the carnage that the disciples and Uncle Howdy laid out? It reminded me of the iconic intro to the TV series Tales from the Crypt. Now, for our younger listeners out there that don't know about Tales from the Crypt, my best advice to you guys would be go out of your way, Google that bad boy, YouTube it. You'll see the intro in question. But for those of you that know your retro TV shows, you will kind of agree with me. Yeah, that did kind of have a weird. I love that. I love how they went to the back. And you just see all this beautiful carnage that has been laid out. Mofos are bloodied. Okay? WWE went all out on this one. I mean, this felt like something straight up out of a goddamn comic book, right? You're almost kind of thinking about shades of Doomsday when the iconic monster Doomsday was fighting Superman and all the carnage that Doomsday was leaving in its place on its quest to get to Metropolis, right? Remember all the heroes that came together that heard about this threat, right? They don't know the name of this creature just yet, but they're getting their asses handed to them. That's literally the case right here as you see the WWE roster, members of the roster, members of the production crew, members of security, all laid out, even management laid out. Some cats bloodied. I loved it. If I remember correctly, I believe Big Braun Strowman was laid out. There was somebody that looked a lot like Braun Strowman that was laid out. I'm going, yo, the fine attention to detail that even Big Braun Strowman, that big son of a bitch, is laid out. You're going, damn. Chad Gable. Shout out to Chad Gable. He's got the blood dripping from the side of his head. And he's just he is selling the hell out of that. Whatever was going down, he is selling the hell out of that. Loved it. Because that was just a powerful message right there. As far as who all was laid out. It doesn't matter if you're a good guy. Damn sure it don't matter if you're a bad guy. If you are in that way. Oh, heaven forbid if you're in the way, you're going to get what's coming to you. You are going to face the wrath of carnage. And that's exactly was the case. I loved it. I loved how they did that pan shot. We saw somebody that was sitting on top of some stage equipment cases or whatnot. There was one guy I think I recognized because I was looking at the tattoos as carefully as I could. And I said, yo, that's my man Dexter Loomis. That's my man, Dexter Loomis. I know that tattoo work anywhere. Okay, we got Dexter in there. Great. We had another individual that appeared to be wearing a rambling rabbit mask, so to speak, or a modified version of a rambling rabbit mask. And he was holding a big old hammer that said, help. You're looking at that guy. You're going, is that maybe Eric Rowan, possibly? Maybe Eric Rowan? The other guy, I don't know if that was Dijak. I know a lot of people were saying Dijak. I know one of my classmates a couple of months ago, as soon as he found out I do a podcast, because I actually had made my podcast part of a PowerPoint presentation for some of my work, that I've been doing outside of my classes and everything, he asked me about, what do you think of the new Wyatt stable? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, there's rumblings. This was about 2 months ago. He's like, well, there's rumblings, this member, this member, this member, all the names that I'm going through right now, 2 months ago. And I say to him, yo, if those names are the official lock-in names, that's going to be a pretty damn good stable, right? So I definitely need you guys' help to connect the dots, because for sure, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, but the last two, was that Dijik? And was it, who's the other guy that I was just mentioning there? Eric Rowan. Is that it? Or it's somebody else that's in those rows? Let me know. Make sure that we have the right information there. But that was beautiful, man. I loved it. As far as anticipating upcoming debuts goes, I had not been this excited in a long time. I was very curious to see how this was going to be executed. And they are off to a damn good start. Don't cut no promo. No. The fact that you showed up, you gave all the messages, all the cryptic messages, you last delivered with, there will be a massacre. And the final send-off, the final visual that you see for this week's Monday Night Raw is Carnage, all laid out backstage. And you abruptly go off the air. Hey, that's perfect. That's perfect. Set it up for next week. Man, I love that. That was great. Uncle Howdy closing it out saying we're here, blowing out the light in the lantern and all that. I honestly, now we're going to have some detractors. We're going to have some people that's honestly, and look, this may shock some of you guys hearing what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. We're going to have some people out there that's not going to like this. There are going to be people that are going to be legit rattled. And they're going to be saying, you know what, this is disrespectful to the memory of Bray Wyatt. They are just trying to milk this for all it's worth. They are just being a cash cow whore for this. This is so tasteless. How can they do this? There's going to be all types of that rhetoric on forums and social media. This is how I would counter it. When Bray Wyatt was still alive, those of us that were actually watching the product back then, we all collectively got the impression that, you know what, eventually Bray, Howdy, they're going to do a lot more than what we're seeing right here. They're going to add some new members to this faction, right down to the point, even way back then, there was rumblings that there would be a new Wyatt family stable that would commence. And if you remember way back then, one of the names that kept popping up for that new stable was Eric Young. And you can only imagine, had Eric Young been able to hang on in there a little bit, how things might have panned out. We never really will know. But as far as way back when Bray Wyatt was still alive, the idea was to, let's put a little stable together here. Let's make something happen, right? So, if anything, I see this as a continuation of that vision from Bray Wyatt, with the exception of the possibilities creatively. This can go completely in another different direction. I look at what's happening right now, and my message to everybody out there that's a little bit caught up in their feelings right now, the best analogy I can give to this whole situation, look at it as a spinoff. Look at it as a spinoff to a series. Now, in my particular case, I am a huge fan of the Power universe. And let me tell you, I am heartbroken to find out that Tommy Egan's joint, Power Force, is going to be wrapping up with its third and final season. But apparently the Tommy Egan character is somehow going to continue on. I don't know exactly what that means, but anybody that's a fan of the Power universe, yes, near and dear to our hearts, the original Power, and what Omari Hardwick was able to do as Ghost, what he was able to do as James St. Patrick, Ain't nothing gonna be able to touch that for, dare I say, many, many years to come, possibly in our lifetime. That show, what he did with that character, ingenious. All right? Then you start hearing about the spin-offs, and then you start hearing about the prequels, and you wonder, we're really going to do this? Right? You're turned off when you first hear, wait, we're doing a spin-off? But then we actually sit down and you start watching a couple of episodes, you go, you know what? This is actually pretty damn good. I'm actually in for this. It's telling its own unique story with this new interesting cast of characters. So you got to take that same thought process and apply it here to what's going on with Uncle Howdy and his disciples. This is a new spinoff. This is a new chapter in regards to the whole Bray Wyatt saga. But make no mistake about it, as far as the Bray Wyatt character themselves, that door is forever closed, but the legacy lives on. So I'm curious to see how this new chapter will continue to evolve. Is it gonna go heavy into the supernatural that Bray Wyatt used to do there with the Fiend gimmick and everything? Or are we gonna go more realistic / psychological thriller type of storytelling we're gonna do here with this entourage? And it's gonna continue to be that way, not just a one-off, but just, no, we're gonna continue to approach this from this standpoint. It's got all the right elements to be very successful, I personally feel. And I would imagine that Bray Wyatt and the way that guy's brain had worked on a regular basis, I would not be surprised if at his home there with JoJo, if there is a whole bunch of scripts, images, like I would be shocked to hear that, no, what we showed you in the Bray Wyatt documentary, that pretty much was it, folks. No. I would like to believe there's like a little small mini vault somewhere of just all types of really cool ideas that Bo Dallas and crew are going to be able to tap into. And then combine that with Bray's old costume maker there, guy that was responsible for making all of his masks and whatnot. I would imagine that all of that combined with JoJo, all of that combined with the WWE force, this got some definite long-term life. So I'm excited. I know a lot of you guys are excited. Joe said it best in the chat just now. I can already tell this Uncle Howdy stuff finna be successful, right? So that's the impression that I have as well. And the best part about all of this is we don't have to worry about no Vince McMahon getting his dirty little fingers caught up into the mix. And right, this is totally just, all right, unchained, unshackled. We can now just, all right, let the creative juices just flow and let's see what goes down. So I think this will be definitely successful. But again, it's early. It's early. We got to get more of a bite-sized sample of the work. But with this proper introduction tonight of a debut, off to the races, off to a really good start. Love that. Love that. So you guys continue to sound off on that. Let your voices be heard. Let's continue on, Max. There was even more great stuff that had went down on tonight's WWE RAW. Another shocker, if you will, that went down tonight. I don't think any of us had this on our bingo cards, but Drew McIntyre shockingly quitting the WWE. Yes, you heard me right. So Drew McIntyre came out. When did he come out? Did he come out late into the second hour, or was it about to be the third hour? Somewhere between there. He comes out and he just has the saddest look on his face, like he just found out he was diagnosed with the big C or something. But he is walking out, and rightfully so. He was so damn close to becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. But Mr. Voice of the Voiceless, yet again, CM Punk, meddling in his business. Drew McIntyre coming out there. Crowd is chanting CM Punk. Drew trying to find the right words to say. And somberly, he says, CM Punk. CM Punk. And he is just at a loss for words right here. As he finally just goes, you know what? I can't do this. I quit. Drops the microphone. Calmly walks his way to the back. And there was a abrupt commercial break. Kudos to WWE for that nice touch there. I love when we have a scenario where we're doing the suspension of disbelief. The line begins to blur. What's going on here? Seriously. What? And I know that threw me off. I'm going, wait, what the hell? What the hell just happened? Riveting television. This is how you get people talking and speculating on social media and forums and all that. I love this. We come back from the commercial break and we see a brief little recap by Michael Cole and the gang of what happened when Drew McIntyre reached backstage. We see Triple H, Paul Levesque, trying to talk to Drew. And Drew pretty much is telling him, they're bleeping Drew out a little bit here, mind you, backstage. But Drew is saying to Triple H, I don't want to hear it. I'm paraphrasing here, but he's saying, I don't want to hear it. You got nothing that could even, no, I don't want to hear anything you got to say. Because I heard what you said about CM Punk at that press conference. I heard you put him over. I mean, he went to town on Triple H there. And you've got Adam Pearce trying to calm Drew down. This isn't the way to do business. This isn't the right way to conduct business. No. Let's talk about this. I get where you're coming from. Last thing we see is Paul Pierce. I wish it was Paul Pierce. That'd be good. That'd be good, Paul Pierce. I'm thinking about the NBA Finals, by the way. Congrats to the Boston Celtics. They are your 2024 NBA Finals champions. I knew they were going to get the job done. The only question was it going to be a gentleman's sweep? Mavericks were able to pull in one win to keep hope alive. But on this night, their luck finally ran out when it was all said and done. So congrats to the Boston Celtics. Congrats to all my people in Boston, friends and associates and colleagues in Boston. I know you guys are celebrating right now. Your cousin from Boston. You guys got a lot to be celebrating for. But anyway, no, Adam Pearce was last seen trying to talk Drew McIntyre down. We get an update later on during the night that apparently Drew McIntyre, if you tried looking him up on social media, he shut down all his social media accounts. All of them basically have been suspended. And you're going, oh, man, we're really going there, aren't we? We're really cranking it up. We're really adding fuel to the fire here. I can only imagine where this is going to go, and I am here for the ride, baby. Seriously, I am here for the ride. Now, I know Dave Meltzer and a few other people, they're going to look at this, and boy, I tell you, they're going to try to spin this in a unique way. But when it's all said and done, this is what we all, as the wrestling community, as WWE fans, need to have in the back of our heads. Number one, remember, Drew McIntyre signed a new deal with the WWE. That went down some weeks back, so have that in the back of your mind. I say that to say this, which is, you already know Drew ain't going nowhere. This is just a great continuation of the feud there between Drew and CM Punk. I am very curious to see how the hell does Drew McIntyre spin this? Is this a case where he is just egging on CM Punk? He's making it appear as though, okay, CM Punk, WWE, screw you guys, I'm done, and that's it? Is this a ploy to set up maybe possibly beating the holy crap out of CM Punk in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois on this coming Friday SmackDown. Because for those of you that were kind of noticing tonight that there was no CM Punk on Raw this week, there's a very good reason for that. If you missed out on the Castle press conference, Punk had said that he was going to be in Chicago on Monday to meet with his doctor to see if whether or not his doctor would clear him for in-ring competition. And so he is taking all of this and is basically going, you know what, I'm going to skip Raw as a result because I feel I'm going to have some really good news to share with the Chicago crowd on this Friday SmackDown. So that really puts all eyes on SmackDown. That heightens the hell out of SmackDown even more, does it not, folks? Because you're going, number one, okay, CM Punk in Chicago, SmackDown. Okay, cool. Part two, okay, CM Punk, you wrestling again? What's going on? But now, number three, the fact that Drew McIntyre essentially quit WWE, does Drew McIntyre throw this up as a mirage, as smoke and mirrors, so that he can get his hands on Punk and beat him into a bloody pulp on SmackDown this Friday? Curious minds want to know. But for those of you that's thinking, is it possible we're going to see Drew McIntyre maybe show up at a different wrestling promotion since he quit the WWE just to kind of add more fuel to the mix or whatever? I don't think so, you all. I don't see something like that going down. I just see it honestly being a case where, you know, Drew's just going to be, if he does not beat the holy crap out of CM Punk this Friday, then it can be a case where curious minds, just an ongoing, what is going on with Drew McIntyre? What is going on with Drew McIntyre? I hope that somehow they get Sheamus involved into the mix as well, because Sheamus and Drew have such a long friendship with each other, right? I mean, they've been the best of friends for so many years. I'm hoping that at some point, either this week or next week, maybe they tap into Sheamus and get his thoughts on what happened there with his best friend. Maybe see if they can put him in a spotlight where, have you talked to Drew since all this went down? Honestly, WWE is in a great position where they can take this wherever they want. We know that the Punk Drew drama / saga is not done by a long shot, but WWE is just in this badass spot where they can go in so many fun directions with this. But the best part, we all as fans collectively are going to be eating this up along the way, as we have been since these guys have been on the roll. I think when it comes time for the year-end awards and we just look back on, hey, best feud of 2024, this, I dare say, is stacking up to be number one. Just with everything that's been happening with these guys' social media game alone, trolling each other left and right, and the way this feud has just continued to be built up so far, this, hands down, has got to be holding on with a strong death grip right now. Number one for feud of the year. You guys sound off. Let me know what you all think about that. But definitely puts all eyes on SmackDown this week. You know, I got to admit, normally when it comes to SmackDown, I'm in I'll watch it on the DVR. Because typically I have to come in from work on a Friday night and I've got to spend the last 30 minutes, usually 40 minutes tops, prepping, getting ready to cover Rampage live on the 401 Mania wrestling site. But this is one of those rare instances where, no, I want to know what's going on here. I'm actually going to tune in to SmackDown during my final hour at work. And then even once I'm in my car driving home, I'm going to have it playing in the background. I don't want to miss this. I don't want to miss any moment of what's going to be going down here with SmackDown in anticipation of how that Punk Drew thing is going to play itself out. So to be continued on that one. Other drama that we had, fun drama that we had going on with tonight's WWE RAW, Chad Gable, the Alpha Academy, Seems like that has finally taken a turn for the better. Otis, Akira Tozawa, Maxine, they can take no more as they finally walked out on Chad Gable. At least it would appear that way. It appears that they are done. And if that is the case, okay, great. Well, this was weeks and weeks of build-up anyway. I know some people looked at what happened with Otis and Chad Gable tonight, and they really did not feel definitively, okay, this is the turn that we've been waiting for with Otis. But it kind of seems the way that they followed up on the events that happened in the ring post-match, that no, it appears Alpha Academy is no more. So let's set this up properly for you guys. Chad Gable and Alpha Academy, they appear to Adam Pearce. Chad Gable is complaining about the fact that, yo, I don't like what went down at Clash at the Castle. I deserve another shot at Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Adam Pearce shutting that down, telling him straight up, no, you are done. You know how many opportunities that you've been given? Can you guys believe this, by the way? 5 times now. You got to hit a Booker T joint. 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. 5 times. Chad Gable has had an opportunity to dance with Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship, and he has lost every single damn time. You're looking at that and you're going, how many more opportunities should you be given when you keep coming up short, right? Adam Pearce staying firm, letting Gable know, hey, man, you got to go to the back of the line. You got to work your way up to the top. Gable pretty much saying, you know what? Whatever, man. If that's going to be the case, fine. I shouldn't even be doing this because I'm a leader. I shouldn't have to go to the back of the line because I'm a leader. But whatever. Bring me whatever opponent. I'll take them on. Pearce loves to hear that. Chad Gable's opponent, that big son of a bitch, Big Braun Strowman. Forget about it. This match was over like, I won't say this was a squash, but this match was definitely over in under 3 minutes tops. Under 3 minutes tops. Chad Gable, pretty pissed off after the fact. Rather than take some type of self-accountability on himself, he decides it was Alpha Academy's fault. So he's pretty pissed off at Maxine. I believe he asked for them to get in the ring. I think it was a case, once again, where he was messing around with Maxine's bum leg, that it's in the boot, and she's walking around with the crutch. I think he took the crutch away from her. Not cool, man. Why you gotta be a dick? Come on. Then he starts messing around with Akira Tozawa, pushes him. Guess at this point, Otis kind of heard what was going on behind him, had enough, pushed Chad Gable on his ass, then proceeded to make his exit. Later on, Chad Gable catching up with his guys, asking them what's going on, because it appeared as though they were packing their things up from the locker, getting ready to roll out. Otis letting Chad Gable know, we're done. We're out of here. Chad saying, hey, it's whatever, but, you know, you're not done with me. I tell you when I'm done with you, right? And you're done. I'm done with you. So it would appear that we're kind of finally at that point now where Chad Gable is going to maybe go in a different direction with Alpha Academy, I think. And if that be the case, I personally would love to see the Creed brothers. Hear me out. Put the Creed brothers with Chad Gable. Put Ivy Nowell in there in the Alpha Academy. If there was ever a time, baby, you know what time it is. If there was ever a time to look into bringing back a veteran such as Shelton Benjamin, this is that time. Shelton Benjamin would fit so perfectly in there with Alpha Academy, I personally feel. But those members that I just named to you all would be my new Alpha Academy. Let's see what happens. But I'm hoping a new Alpha Academy is in the making. But in the meantime, Chad Gable declared in this same segment that, okay, you know, I got to go at it alone. Okay, fine. I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you by winning Money in the Bank. So that is his next target. Speaking of Money in the Bank, next week's Monday Night Raw is going to be a very interesting episode because there's going to be another Money in the Bank qualifier. This go round, Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. So that is going to be a very fun matchup. I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see if Chad is going to be able to advance in that one. But it would appear that the current Alpha Academy, as we know it right now, is no more, which is honestly good. I think the current incarnation, I think it honestly ran its course. Anything more would have been overkill. There's just so many times you could see Otis getting bitch slapped week after week without frickin'. Look, you poke a bear enough, you're going to eventually get mauled to death. Can we be honest? So the fact that it's ending like this, it may be a little bit flat for some people, and I will admit that. But I think with the way things are being handled right now with the Chad Gable character, this is more so for the better, especially if ultimately it is all about continuing to evolve the Chad Gable character, build that character up to new heights and everything. By the way, there was an interesting interview that Chad Gable gave recently where he talked about how he was the one that decided it was time for his character to go heel. And he gave some really interesting bullet points as far as his thought process goes. He mentioned the fact that when he lost those handful of times to Gunther, he just felt, okay, we have taken my character as a babyface as far as it can possibly go. And at this point, he's admitting, yo, I kind of feel as though I'm flatlining here and everything has been exhausted with this current run as a babyface. Let's go ahead and flip the script. Let's turn me heel. So he was the one that came up with the idea, and he was 100% down for it. And Triple H, Paul Levesque, believing in Chad's guts and, you know, planning it out, working it out, and the rest, as they say, is pretty much history. But to just know that this was all Chad Gable's idea, pretty badass. Kudos to Chad Gable for going with his gut instinct. This is a good example of, do you continue to go with the status quo, or do you go, hey, look, in regards to my character, this is where I feel I'm at right now. My gut is telling me now's the time that we switch things up. Now's the time we go in a different direction here. Otherwise, what's the payoff here? What are we doing here? So that's a good, hey, let's challenge the status quo. Because he could have easily just kept his mouth shut, enjoyed the money, whatever matches they had him doing. He could have easily continued to do that. But he spoke up and made very valid points when it's all said and done. When you and me really go back and think to that whole period in time, yeah, he was kind of flatlining a little bit. And this was before going into WrestleMania. So kudos to him. Let's talk about some, did we mention already? I know we did, but we got to make sure that we highlight this. Seth Rollins making his triumphant return to Monday Night Raw. I know there's a lot of rumblings out there as people are wondering what's going on with Becky Lynch. I know Jim Ross had commented on it recently, saying something along the lines of he would personally be shocked if WWE let Becky Lynch slip through their fingertips to another promotion. I don't see that happening. Like I said to you guys a couple of weeks ago, I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, Becky Lynch and WWE, they've already worked out some type of a new deal. And at this point, Becky Lynch is just enjoying some R&R right now. We'll see her in a little bit, but for now, she's taking some much needed time off, and hey, cool with that. But at the same time, we get Seth Rollins. I can't believe I'm saying this. I said it on social media already, but I can't believe I'm actually saying this verbally out loud. But it's true. I legit missed Seth Rollins. I can't believe I'm saying that. I legit miss Seth Rollins. I actually got a smile on my face seeing him. I got excited again. It was nice to see this guy. Look, not for nothing, but every time when it comes to Seth Rollins, I've always been consistent with Seth Rollins, which is, hey, you know that if you're getting ready to watch a match that involves Seth Rollins, you know you're in for a good time. You know Seth is going to deliver. I never had an issue with Seth Rollins when it comes to the in-ring stuff. But sometimes his character on the microphone would leave sometimes little to be desired. But this go round, experiencing Seth Rollins, who's been gone for several weeks. First of all, he looked very refreshed. He looked rejuvenated. He looked as though he had a sparkle in his eyes of, hey man, I'm back. I feel great. I feel well rested. I'm ready to tear it up. That's how he was looking to me tonight. And, it wasn't until that moment where everything really kind of came full circle to me and just, it has been kind of lacking just a small little bit without Seth Rollins in the mix. And yet here he is again. So what had brought Seth Rollins here before us tonight? It was quite simple. Seth Rollins looking to reclaim his World Heavyweight Championship, looking to be the man yet again. This forced Damian Priest to come out. Damian Priest, Rollins, having their exchange of words. Oh, my God. I'm at a loss for words, almost, because I did not like the way Damian Priest handled himself in this promo exchange with Seth Rollins. Because, yeah, Seth Rollins may have that annoying laugh and all of that, but you know what? It really dawned on me right here in this moment when I was paying attention to this segment between these two guys. Seth Rollins has this bravado, this cockiness that's about him. And maybe that's because he knows that when you get him in that squared circle, he can pretty much back up what he's saying with the best of them and all that. But there was something about Damian Priest's promo exchange with Seth Rollins tonight that, in my honest opinion, felt hollow. Shout out to fellow podcaster and colleague Kev Castle, who said it best on social media. He said, Damian Priest is very confusing. He does well in his talking game in the backstage segments. He killed it in that post-PLE scrum, which he did. I watched the scrum, and I thought he was very alive. I thought he was very animated, not overly animated, not over the top animated, but he was definitely animated. And yet we get this, it's weird. We get this Damian Priest that's in the ring. And as Kev would go on to say, yet live in the ring, like these situations on Raw, he talks with no conviction at all. Like he doesn't even try. Weird. I added on top of that, and the way I've been feeling about him for weeks now. When he's in the ring and he's cutting these promos, it feels very hollow. It feels like something is lacking. Sure, he is saying the right things as far as a bullet point goes, but I sometimes forget that this guy is champion with the way that he's talking in the ring. It's very weird what's going on with Damian Priest. Very weird what's going on with this guy. But yeah, I need him to find what he's got to dig deep down in the guts and bring that beast out. I need him to bring that mojo. I need him to bring that swag. I need him to bring that. I'm looking at him, and it's so funny. Lately, I've been watching retro episodes of Sanford and Son. And I particularly love, I believe it's is it the second or the third season? I'm trying to think. It's the second season when they introduce Julio Fuentes. Julio Fuentes would be a next door neighbor to Fred and Lamont Sanford. Turns out Fuentes was in the junk business as well and everything. But I mentioned Julio Fuentes because Julio Fuentes, even on his worst day on Sanford and Son, has more charisma, has more gusto, has more mojo and all that than these promos that I see of Damian Priest in the ring. Now that I've said that, I know some of you younger listeners out there, you're going to be like, Julio Fuentes, Sanford and Son. Yeah, research it. Get back to me. I'm just picturing you guys going, damn, Lee, that was so damn cold. But yeah, you're accurate on that one, dog. You're accurate on that one. So when it was all said and done, Damian Priest putting a challenge out there to Seth Rollins. Hey, look, I want to have a match with you because let's be honest, I was hoping I'd cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase on you because you were the one that I wanted to defeat to become champion, not Drew McIntyre, right? And so I like where this is going. Essentially, hey, you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man. So you could essentially make the argument that, well, in Seth Rollins' case, yeah, well, hey, man, you ain't beat me for the title because Lord knows if it would have been a fair contest between you and me one-on-one, I definitely would have tapped that ass. So coming up in less than 3 weeks, Money in the Bank, we're going to see for the World Heavyweight Championship, Damian Priest defend against Seth Rollins. Now, look, you've already built up a really great match there from Clash at the Castle between Priest and McIntyre. It's actually a really good match, and the fact that Priest came out of that match unscathed because of those damn ropes, he really dodged a bullet there. So I like what's happening with his title defenses. Some good title defenses. I like how we're stacking it up so far. This is going to be a very interesting test right here, right? One where does Damian Priest truly rise to the occasion and elevate his game even more against the veteran there and Seth Rollins, you know, or in storyline, or does he crumble, right? It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this matchup, especially since we're so close to SummerSlam, because as I usually like to say here on this show, and I've been saying it since 2011, summer is usually that period where WWE notoriously is known for, okay, let's pull the trigger on this person and let's see what happens with them. And let's run with them for a little bit. Well, you know, push come to shove. If we're not really feeling it and everything, you know, we can kind of come back to them at a later date. But yeah, we got SummerSlam coming up. Maybe we should go with what works best. But usually summertime is that period where they like to kind of I would say late spring going in the summer. It's usually that time they like to do their experiments with, okay, let's see how this person operates as a champion. Give it a couple of months. It don't work out. We'll go with this person because we know what's safe. We know what'll sell too as we get ready to go into SummerSlam. So I'm very curious to see how Damian Priest will do in this matchup against Seth Rollins, let alone the back and forth in the weeks to come. So that's that right there. But great seeing Seth Rollins back. Definitely had missed the guy. So some other stuff going down on tonight's Monday Night Raw. We had a Money in the Bank women's qualifier. Io Sky taking on Kiana James, Zelina Vega. This was a triple threat match. Liv Morgan appeared in the final moments of this matchup to distract Zelina Vega, kind of following up from what had went down last week's Raw. This pretty much had put Zelina into the crosshairs of Kiana James, who attacked her from behind, which set up Io Sky to attack Kiana James from behind to pick up the W. Io Sky advancing. Meanwhile, let's not forget Io Sky. She pretty much has been laying out the mandate for Damage Control that essentially, we got to go in a different direction. We got to change our ways here because what's going on right now ain't happening. It ain't popping. This ain't what I signed up for. So, Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane, tag team action as they took on and lost to Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. When Kairi and Dakota met up with Io backstage later on in the night, Io was not a happy camper, going as far as to say, hey, guess I got to do things myself. So what that means exactly, who knows, but we're seeing trouble in paradise going on here for Damage Control. And as we all know, Io Sky, she's getting ready to do something. If I'm not mistaken, I think she's getting ready to do something outside of WWE as well, as she's going to be returning to Japan for a match. Hang on here. I can tell you. Say Japan. I'll type that in real quick and we'll see what pops up. Yeah, she's set to return to Japan for a dream match at Marigold. If you bear with me a second, I can tell you. She's going to be facing Utami. Oh my God, I'm not going to even try to pronounce there's some joints I look at and I go, I can kind of sound that out, but Utami, that's the best I'm going to give you for now. But she's going to be taking her on. It's a dream match at Marigold Summer Destiny 2024. So you can't help but look at what's currently going on with the Io Sky character outside of the WWE and ask yourself, man, now that WWE is building upon these great relationships, kind of partnerships with these other promotions, TNA included, right? There's a new report, too, that they're also trying to befriend some Mexican promotions as well. They're trying to tap into the Lucha Libre as well and do a little something as well. So very curious to see how all that maps out, particularly with one Conan. I know they were very high on his Hall of Fame setup speech there for Rey Mysterio a while back. Very curious to see if they may extend the olive branch to him, and if so, right, we'll see how that plays out. Tell you this much, they've been incorporating Conan more in some of their docu-series, which we'll talk about later on, because Conan was actually part of the ECW biography joint that premiered over the weekend. We'll talk about that later on in the show. So I can't help but wonder, if regards to Io Sky, if maybe we might see some stuff go down from overseas, where maybe there's some characters that pop up like a crossover into WWE. And this has the potential to go in a couple of different areas. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Io Sky with Damage Control. I definitely feel Damage Control has been, long time ago, ran its course. And at this point, either you inject some new blood into Damage Control, or you go on ahead and just end the damn thing already. I personally feel. But that's just me. That's just me personally. Dragon Lee took on Carlito later on in the night. We saw Liv Morgan appear because Dominic Mysterio, leading up to this match, he could not find, for the love of him, his vest. He was looking for his favorite purple vest, and somehow that vest ended up disappearing. He wondered if maybe his brothers in the Judgment Day might have been ribbing him a little bit, if they were maybe messing with his gear, and that wasn't the case at all. It turns out Liv Morgan had his vest as she appeared. The all sexy Glenn Close, Michael Douglas from Fatal Attraction, she's just popping up out of nowhere, and poor Dom just minding his own business. The Zelina, though, getting a little bit of retribution from earlier. She was beating the holy hell out of Liv Morgan. Other members of Damage Control and LWO pretty much jumped in there trying to split all that up. Then there was a breakout amongst the guys, and when all was said and done in regards to the noise, it was actually Carlito who picked up a win on Dragon Lee, taking advantage of a distraction and setting up the backstabber on Dragon Lee from the corner, picking up the 1-2-3 that way. Later on, backstage, Dirty Dom coming across Liv Morgan. Liv willing to give Dominic his vest back. All he had to do was unzip it off her and take it off her himself. Boy, it's really some Fatal Attraction, man. Seriously, if you've never seen Fatal Attraction, one of my all-time favorite psychological thrillers. In a nutshell, it is about Michael Douglas playing this married guy, great life, got a kid, got a lot of great things going on for himself. And on one particular night, he decides, you know what, I'm going to commit adultery. I'm going to cheat on my wife. And he cheats on his wife with this hot blonde, portrayed by Glenn Close. And man, it hits the fan from there. That's all I got to say. But seeing how everything's going right now between Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom, I'm just getting the Fatal Attraction vibe and everything. We see Dirty Dom kind of cave in a little bit. He starts to unzip the vest, and then we've got Damian Priest. I thought it was going to be Finn Balor, but we have Damian Priest come from around the corner, and he's looking on like a concerned principal. Okay? Like, smoking in the boys' room. All right? He just comes around. Yeah, mira, Dom. ¿Por qué? You know, he's talking to him in Spanish and everything. Like, what the hell are you doing, man? You know? And it's like, I so wish that they could have had Dom just look at Damian Priest and go, what the hell do you think I'm doing? I'm getting my vest back off this woman. You want to join me? I wish Dom would have. I don't like the way they got my man Dom set up so far. They've got my man Dom set up like a OG Willikers. Oh, woe is me. I don't mean no harm. I wish they could give him a little bit more gravitas, you know, make him a little bit more, you know, badass kind of and everything, you know, but it is what it is. But yeah, we had Damian Priest pop up from around the corner asking what's going on, and poor Dirty Dom, I'm just trying to get my vest off of her. I love that segment on so many levels, but I just felt bad for the Dom character here. Damian Priest pretty much telling Dirty Dom to go run off, let him handle it or whatever. But he did get the vest back because Liv pretty much unzipped it herself, gave it to Dom. Now we've got Damian Priest injecting himself into this and telling Liv Morgan, yo, can't you leave the poor kid alone? Can't you see what you're doing to him? Yeah, we see what she's doing to him. She is giving my man blue balls to the extreme. That's what she's doing to him. And honestly, if you really want to help Dirty Dom, you let him take care of that with Liv Morgan. Or if you want Liv Morgan to yourself, that's fine. Just make sure you somehow give Dirty Dom a consolation prize. Maybe let him get a crack at another woman on the roster or whatnot. But I love what's going on here. You know, while we're talking about that, I also love the telecast replay that Pat McAfee did from last week, showing when Finn Balor confiscated the hotel key card, because a lot of us had missed that on the first rodeo. We didn't realize what went down until WWE replayed it on social media at about the same time that fans, very attention to detail fans, were able to catch it, and they were sharing as well. So Damian Priest did follow up with Finn Balor to ask him, yo, what was going on there with that key card, man? Why did you confiscate it? Like, what the hell? And the story that Finn Balor spun on Damian, hey, look, I just wanted to make sure that Dirty Dom His head was in the right place. I actually destroyed that key card. I trashed it and everything. Like, we good? You all right with that? It's good? You all right? Damian Priest. Yeah, cool. We're all right. So that pretty much ends that respected draw. But I like what is continuing to happen here with the Liv Morgan Judgment Day. You know, we think that Liv Morgan is very, very... This can end only one of two ways. Either Liv is finally able to break Dirty Dom down, or Finn Balor is essentially going to be the one that, it was me, Dom, it was me. Maybe he's going to be the one that, nah, I've been messing around with Liv Morgan. I've been playing around with that the whole time, right? But Liv is just this kind of wild, carefree kind of, you know, I still feel Liv at this point of the story arc. I still feel that Liv is trying to destroy the Judgment Day from within, basically so that when Rhea Ripley does return, like, there's nothing that she's going to be coming home to because her familia has been destroyed from within. There's a part of me that feels ultimately that is what Liv Morgan is trying to achieve. But at the same time, I'm also kind of getting the impression that maybe as she's playing around with Dirty Dom, there are some type of feelings there that will quickly be negated thanks to Finn Balor. Now, whether or not this means Finn Balor is going to be running off into a whole new faction, I just don't see that happening. But if you maybe wanted to do something a la Edge and Lita, I could see a watered down version of that with Finn Balor and Liv. I could definitely see that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can definitely see something along those lines playing out. Sami Zayn was in the house. By the way, I see he's got a comedy show. Tickets are going to be going on sale for that this week. That is pretty badass. For those of you that are a little bit curious, let me see. I'm trying to think if I actually took a screenshot of it so I could share with you guys, because I believe that is going to be happening in the States. If you could bear with me a second, I can tell you whether or not it is going to be happening in the States. Let me just type in Sami Zayn comedy show, and I'll be able to hook you guys up that way. Yeah, no, it's going to be out of state. Apparently on Money in the Bank weekend, Sami Zayn is going to be debuting his comedy show in Toronto. It's called Sami Zayn and Friends Do Toronto. It's going to be going down on July 4th at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto as part of WWE's Money in the Bank weekend. So I'm hoping that WWE will be recording this, and maybe at a later date it will be uploaded to Peacock, because I would so love to see that. But shout out to my friends that are over in Canada. For anybody that is going to be attending that event, that comedy event, please keep me informed. Let me know of your experience, because I want to know how good of a comedy show that it is. And I would think that if everything is on point on all cylinders, then maybe Sami Zayn will have some additional dates that will be announced for the States, because that would be nice. I know DC Improv, they've always been kind to wrestlers turned comedians and all that. They definitely love tapping into that wrestling audience. I can definitely see Sami Zayn doing something at the DC Improv for sure. But yeah, hopefully that's something that the WWE staff will be recording. Maybe they'll try to upload it on Peacock at a later date. But in any case, Sami Zayn was in the house cutting a promo, letting it be known that he is finally done with Chad Gable. He is moving on with his life. He's not sure What's next? Well, he wouldn't have to wait that long as far as what's next, because what was next was Braun Strowman. Oh no, I'm kidding. Braun Breaker. We got too many Brauns, man. We gotta figure that out, right? We should just call Braun Strowman. We should just call him Strowman, and let there just be one Braun, and that Braun should be Breaker. But Breaker coming out there, telling Sami Zayn straight up, "Hey, I'm what's next. You've seen what I've been doing since I've arrived, and at this point, you're next." Ooh, and it's for the IC title, so yeah, that's what's up. Sheamus coming out next, and Sheamus letting it be known that as far as that Intercontinental Championship goes, that is a title that has eluded him for quite some time, and that, hey, he's definitely the guy when it comes to putting on banger after banger after banger, and letting Sami Zayn know that at some point the two of them are definitely going to cross paths. And when they do, there's going to be some serious sparks. Now, kudos to Sheamus, because Sheamus caught himself. If you go back and you look at his promo, he was getting ready to say he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. But he kind of caught himself, and instead he decided to say in years. And that's actually true. In part, what he said was the truth. But for those of us that's followed the career of Sheamus, you know, we know the man's history and all that. The one championship that has eluded Sheamus for his illustrious career, without a doubt, he is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. As far as I'm concerned, if I have any hesitation with your name, and I got to think for even 2 seconds whether or not you should be on the Hall of Fame, you ain't in no Hall of Fame, right? You definitely ain't first ballot. Sheamus definitely has had that respected career, though, where, yes, he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Fame. But when you look at everything that he's accomplished in the WWE, he has never won the Intercontinental Championship. Never. That is just mind-boggling crazy when you hear that. So I am more interested in, so is Sheamus going to be able to do that? Is he going to accomplish that before he hangs up the boots? Or is that going to kind of be one of those it never came to be moments? But in either case, man, I love the verbal exchange between Braun Breaker and Sheamus. Braun Breaker, shades of Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Like, I'm looking at this kid going, yes, young man, that is the Braun Breaker I fell in love with the first rodeo when I saw you down in NXT and everything. Because we all remember that period when he came up under the Vince McMahon reign, and that was just, what are we doing with this guy? Like, seriously, what are we doing with this young man? This Braun Breaker got up in Sheamus' face. The trash talking, the level of game with the trash talking from Big Braun Breaker. I loved it. It pretty much had set up an instant Acme feud, as Sami Zayn's like, let me go talk to Adam Pearce right now. Because the crowd don't want to see you guys yapping. They want to see you guys fighting. So that was our next match, and it was a fun match. I'd like to believe that if we would have found out who the victor was going to be here, they definitely would have had a future shot against Sami Zayn there for the Intercontinental Championship. We sadly never got to find out who that winner was, because Conan O'Brien, a.k.a. Ludwig Kaiser, got involved. Final seconds of the matchup, I believe Sheamus was maybe looking for the bro kick, and Conan O'Brien pulled Sheamus' leg from underneath, dragging him out. There's your DQ right there. Sheamus kind of rebounded a little bit, but Braun Breaker was just wrecking havoc left and right on everybody. Sweet-ass spears, especially on Ludwig Kaiser. Good stuff. Braun Breaker came out of that joint looking like a freaking beast. I couldn't help but lean over to my wife at this point, and I said to her, look at the way Braun delivers those spears and at the same time kind of protecting his guys. A lot better than some people I know. WCW. Good stuff. Good stuff. I loved it. Other than that, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else on the card tonight. You know, we briefly had touched upon the Money in the Bank match there between Rey Mysterio, Finn Balor, Jey Uso. We briefly had touched upon that a little bit. That was a fun matchup too, for what it was worth. I loved how the final sequence had went down, as if I remember it right, Finn Balor had delivered the coup de grace on Rey Mysterio, tried to go for the cover, but then Jey Uso came from the top rope with his Uso splash, and that's how he pretty much was able to pick up the win. I actually like that matchup for what it was worth. All the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, and the fact that they went with a three-way dance where one person advances to the premium live event. I love the way that it was all set up tonight with these matches. We don't know exactly what the card is going to be for SmackDown this week in regards to their Money in the Bank qualifying matches. We just got to watch it and find out when it's all said and done. But Corpus Christi, Texas, for Raw tonight at the American Bank Center Arena. Solid crowd. Loved it. Pretty energetic throughout. Nice, fun energy. I loved it. Definitely kept me going. Not that I was paying too much to the crowd. I was paying more so attention, as always, to what's happening with the in-ring action. But good stuff. I loved it. This episode of Raw delivered some really big, bold moments. Nothing, make no mistake about it, nothing about this edition of Monday Night Raw was boring at all. Everything was just... It was just one big moment after another. Even the stuff with Breaker and Sheamus, how they're setting things up for Money in the Bank so far. They're off to a very, very intriguing start. This was a well-done episode. Let's see how you guys had voted on social media here. X at the RCWR show. We got a poll up on there, keeping the options as simple as possible. Let's see what you guys are saying right now. Wow, we got about over 66 of you guys that are watching via X/Twitter right now. My hat is tipped to you guys. Thank you guys so much for checking out the stream. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying yourselves. And if you have, make sure you show some love on the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe over there as well, as we're pretty close to hitting 15,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I'm seeing right now 8% of you are giving tonight's edition of Raw a below average. Actually, I see a tie for that. Half of you are saying below average show, while the other half of you are saying awesome show. Top dog right now is Wyatt 5, yo. Wyatt 5, yo. Coming in at 83%. Appreciate you guys that cast a vote. Also, for you guys that's watching via X, you definitely could do me a huge honor and make sure you're following me on X. Definitely do that. Follow me on X if you haven't already. Let's see what's going on with YouTube, and let's click on the communities tab. We're not going off the air just yet. I mean, we're just getting started. We got some fun headlines that we got to get into as well. I got to rap to you guys a little bit about my thoughts on the second episode of WCW, Who Killed WCW. Also, there was a WWE Biographies episode on ECW. I definitely want to sound off about that. And we got some more little fun headlines we can get into as well. Going over to the YouTube community poll, I'm seeing 17% of you are saying Raw this week was a good show, while 83% of you are excited for the Wyatt 5. So, yeah, I think without a doubt, yeah, that was a good moment. It's a good moment tonight, without a doubt. It's a really good moment tonight. Hey, I want to give you guys a quick consumers report before we dive into some wrestling headlines and everything. There's a scam that's running around. It's kind of relatively new. I had noticed this over the weekend because I was included in a group text message. And it was marked from somebody claiming to be
the United States Postal Service, USPS. And they basically were saying, hey, your package had arrived at the warehouse, but because your address is incomplete, it cannot be delivered. Please fill in the address. And it gives this link so that you can allegedly fill in your address information. Well, first of all, the United States Postal Service, UPS, they're never going to hit you up like that. Never. They're never going to hit you up. Second of all, you're not going to be in some group text message, right? The red flag should definitely be when you get a single message, but definitely you should notice, wait a minute, I smell bull, when you're included in a group text message, right? It's a phishing scam. When you click on the link, your sensitive information, passwords, and everything is going to be compromised. Did I click on the link? No. Luckily, I'm just educated enough to know scams when I see them. I had actually shared it on social media, but make sure that you share that with your loved ones, especially those that are up there in age and or maybe are not tech savvy. Don't have them fall for that bad scam. And if you or them do happen to be anticipating a package, the best advice that I can give is go deal directly with that merchant that you or that loved one are purchasing products and services from. Go directly to their site, retrieve that tracking number, and then even at that, once you have that tracking number, go directly to the UPS or the USPS or FedEx site, type in that tracking info, and look that way as far as updates go and all that. But be aware of that. It's just, you hear one silly scam after another. It's really quite sad, let me tell you. So, some other fun little topics that we can get into tonight. I see that Jeff Hardy had made his return to TNA Wrestling over the weekend, essentially joining his brother Matt. That is a really good thing to see and hear. Jeff Hardy had gave an interview leading up pretty much to his return to TNA. He returned at their Against All Odds event, joining his brother Matt Hardy and everything. And remember, Matt Hardy's contract, that had expired, some weeks back. In regards to Jeff's contract had allegedly expired this past Friday at midnight. So this is a pretty cool moment right here that's going on with the Hardys back in TNA. I didn't think it was possible. Not to bore you guys, but for those of you that remember the time period there where we had broken Matt Hardy running around and Willow Jeff Hardy and everything in TNA, it was a fun period of time in TNA wrestling. And then when the Hardys decided, okay, you know what? Let's test out a return to the WWE. Things got pretty nasty there with the Hardys and TNA, with Anthem, and it was a whole messy situation, and it just led you to the belief that, yeah, as far as the Hardys returning to TNA, that's definitely something that we'll probably never ever see happen again, them revisiting TNA, but hell essentially froze over per se. I guess time can heal old wounds, right? Because they're both in TNA again. Of course, the main question going on is, well, what's going on with the Hardys in TNA? Is this a long-term deal? Have they signed new deals with the company? At the moment, it appears that they are still free agents. Fightful, shout out to the good folks at Fightful, they're noting that both men are currently working in TNA without contracts, as many within TNA were under the impression that Jeff would be appearing in the company soon, but they weren't told as such before June 14th. So if that's true, that they're still going in there and they're operating as free agents, and it's pretty much a pay-per-appearance deal, not pay-per like pay-per-view, but pay-per-appearance deal that they've got right now with TNA, then that's really good. Keep those options open, I say. Do not put yourself in a position where you just got out of essentially a long-term relationship that really did not go well. I mean, come on. I was alluding to an interview that Jeff Hardy had gave earlier, too. I wish I could mention the podcast name, but it escapes me right now. But he said to these folks, with me and things that have happened in my personal life, I've had to rebuild things over and over again. I'm very excited about rebuilding this time, not to burn it down. Talking about my career and my existence. When I think about CM Punk, I always say he's such a superpower. I had that superpower at one point in my life. I'm rebuilding to get it back because I have an amazing connection with the fans, as everybody knows. And I have to prove to myself and them that there is a little light inside of me that is going to shine brighter than ever. So his heart and his intentions are definitely in the right place right now. And you just can't help. You show me a person. I've always been a firm believer. You show me a person that is trying to do better for themselves, that they are genuinely trying to make an effort, and I will show you an individual that will work with that person and will continue to give them the keys to success, give them the access to resources, everything that they need to continue to thrive and be successful. Yeah, sure, they may have slipped and fallen a couple of times, but the fact that they continue to try. How can you turn a blind eye to a person that's trying to do better? No matter how many times they mess up, you can't help but root them on and try to help them succeed in everything. So I really hope that Jeff is able to put a curb stomp on those demons, those old vices. For me, it's not even about for the fans. I'm not even thinking about us as a wrestling community right now. What I am mainly thinking about is, Jeff, do you take care of you? Do right by yourself so that you could continue to be there for your kids, for your wife. You know, because at some point, those kids are going to get to an age where they're going to start learning about some of these incidents involving their dad, Jeff Hardy. And I'm sure that they're going to have some questions for him. You know, what happened, Dad? What was going on with you during this time frame? They, too, are one day going to go on YouTube, go on X, Twitter, and they're going to see some of that stuff, some of that controversial stuff. They're going to see how wasted he was in TNA. They're going to see all that stuff. And Jeff Hardy needs to be able to look them in the eyes and not just say, hey, this is what was going on with me during that period of time. You know, but he also needs to be able to say to them, look, that was such a long time ago. I was in a different headspace back then. I was a totally different person back then. You know, I've been sober for years now. You know, I've been clean and, you know, it's tough. It is tough. Take it from somebody that witnessed firsthand a loved one, you know, a family member go through substance abuse. And, you know, you tell them, hey, you shouldn't be doing this because da 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 da. At the end of the day, that person has to want it. You can't, you know, you can tell them all the right things. You can give them stats. You can give them everything. But that person, at the end of the day, they've got to want the change themselves. And until they want that change themselves, everything is just falling on deaf ears. So the fact that Jeff recognizes what's been going on with his life these past handful of years and he continues to want to strive to do better, I mean, you could definitely work with that, right? And I'm happy to knock on wood, for my family member that was dealing with all forms of substance abuse. They've been clean now for over 15 years. Knocking on wood for them. Knocking on wood for them. They had some trial and error here and there. It was drugs, and then, okay, they gave up drugs, but then they went to alcohol, and that was their new crutch. And then it was kind of, that's not good. But eventually, drug, alcohol, free. It's like, that's what's up. That's what's up. So it can be done. It can be done. You just got to have the right circle of people around you and everything. And not for nothing, Jeff's definitely got a really good support system when it's all said and done. So I can't help but ask this question. Seeing Matt and Jeff Hardy back in TNA, I just can't help but ask this question. I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just asking a legit question. All of you can chime in on this. Knowing what we know now, was it a mistake for Tony Khan to sign Matt and Jeff Hardy to AEW in the first place when he had the opportunity to sign? Was it a mistake way back when? They say hindsight is 20/20 and everything, right? I mean, you can just understand probably where Tony Khan's headspace was at that time. Hey, I have a legit shot to acquire the talents of Matt and Jeff Hardy. And obviously, Matt Hardy was first. We had to wait a little bit for Jeff. But did Tony Khan jump too soon in acquiring Jeff Hardy? Hindsight's 20/20. You just can't help but really wonder and ask that question. We know the circumstances surrounding when Jeff had rolled out from the WWE. And look, hey, okay, Jeff was clean. He passed his drug tests and whatever was going on with the man, no matter how you want to chalk it up, drugs, no drugs, at the end of the day, it was just wrong how he rolled out on WWE during that particular time period. It was just wrong. Because, look, at the end of the day, there's a right and a wrong way of doing business. You got to apply it in the real world, right? You got to apply it in the real world. Most of us, we do it right. We tell an employer, hey, I'm putting in a week notice, or I'm putting in a 2-week notice. This just isn't for me anymore. I'm moving on to bigger and better things. I'll finish out the rest of my scheduling. And yeah, but I'm done. There's a right and a wrong way of doing things. I remember when Jeff pretty much gave the deuces to WWE and how quick fans were and saying, yeah, Jeff, come on to AEW. And I'm saying to myself, like, that is supposed to just make whatever's going on in his personal life, whatever he's dealing with internally, like, that's supposed to make everything just disappear. It's like, no, like, that's not a good way to operate. This guy needs to regroup. I remember saying way back then, this guy needs to regroup. Don't worry about the wrestling. The wrestling will be there for him when he's ready. He needs to just go on ahead and take care of himself for the time being. I always felt like Jeff popping up in AEW was just way too soon. But then there was that part of me that said, well, he is with his brother. Maybe he'll be all right. And as we would later soon find out, he unfortunately, he didn't last that long. He didn't last that long. And then from there, Tony Khan and just the decision to not work with the Hardys as much. I mean, this guy was literally pulling a Thanos. He was just collecting left and right, and it was like, okay, cool, I got it. Now it chills on my shelf. That's pretty much what we saw ultimately happen with the Hardy Boys. So I can't help but ask the question, yet again, hindsight being 2020, Tony Khan, was it really a good move for him to go after Matt and Jeff Hardy in the first place? But I think ultimately Jeff Hardy. You know, you just can't help but look at that whole situation and go, unless you really have a true definitive plan mapped out for these guys, why are you even bringing them in the first place? I mean, yeah, you got the name recognition, but how far are you going to go with this? Now, look, just to defend Tony Khan a little bit here, I like the recent hirings that he's been doing. I love the fact that he's added Will Ospreay over the years. I love the fact that he's added Will Ospreay. I love that Christian Cage, definitely a very smart investment. A very smart investment. Christian Cage alone, very good. Swerve Strickland, very good. Mercedes Moné, we shall see. We shall see. But I am very, very high on the Will Ospreay right now. But I just can't help but put caution on the future hirings that Tony Khan is planning on doing there. It's like, you know, don't empty the whole checkbook, you know, for that one talent. And then meanwhile, you still got all these other, like, you got to make sure that you're continuing to balance it out when it's all said and done. You know, you can't keep sitting on all these contracts forever. Some of them you're either going to have to let expire, not renew, downsize some of them, or say to some of them, look, we're not utilizing you. Nothing that you're doing wrong, nothing that we're doing wrong, but probably best that we go our separate ways. You just got to be smart about it. That's all I'm saying, folks. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day. You got to be smart about it. You guys sound off. Let me know what you think about that. I just kind of had that run in the back of my head a little bit. Hey, let me talk about Who Killed WCW episode 2. Saw this episode over the weekend. I ended up watching it twice because Sunday had came around, and I actually was supposed to be running around doing some of my side hustles, but I decided I wanted to take it easy, play with my girls, chill with the missus. So evening time came. I said, hey, I got a really cool docuseries we can watch. So I watched episodes 1 and 2 again, but this time with the wifey and everything. And she loves the series. She loves the series. She ended up having even more respect for Bret Hart, particularly in regards to episode 2. But episode 2 of Who Killed WCW, I loved it on so many levels because, number one, we definitively got to understand from the perspective of Eric Bischoff what was going on with this guy leading up to him being dismissed by WCW. Eric Bischoff, WCW, they are kicking WWE's ass left and right for consecutive weeks. And then ultimately, what started to become the beginning of the end per se is when, number one, Ted Turner pretty much gives the green light for there to be an additional WCW show, Thunder. And you're going, wait a minute, we're already doing Nitro. Now we pretty much got to follow up like 48 hours later just to do another show. Let's not also forget that we have a Saturday show. And then, oh yeah, by the way, sometimes we have a pay-per-view. You're talking about 10 plus hours of wrestling programming. Yeah, that is not. And Kevin Sullivan, he said it best. Okay, you introduced Thunder, a new show. What we just did on Monday, and then going into the next show, it's going to be watered down. Now you're watering the product down. Yeah, I remember how I felt as a teenager when it came to the introduction of Thunder. I remember going, okay, I'll watch the first episode out of curiosity, just kind of get an idea of what I can expect. And I appreciate how Eric Bischoff was trying to do Thunder. His thought process was, we doesn't really make sense for us to recycle a lot of the guys that we use from the Monday show. So why don't we try to introduce a whole unique roster? And as I'm watching this, I am literally going AEW Collision. And when they start talking about Bret Hart, I'm going, oh, Bret Hart, CM Punk. I am literally going just like that as I'm watching this. Because the parallels are so similar, right? And I'm watching this, and I just remember how I felt as a teenager. And when Bret had came on over to WCW, I remember just how excited I was just to see one of my absolute favorites in the ring, the excellence of execution, and Bret Hart being there, and just, man, the matchups this guy is potentially going to be able to have. Oh, you know, and he's got his own little show right here with Thunder. He's pretty much the main attraction. Like, okay, cool. And then I remember afterwards, you know, those first handful of weeks, how there was just this disconnect with Bret's involvement in WCW. And I just remember how much of a turnoff it was for me. But I more so remember how it was for me watching Thunder back then and just going, you know what? I'm honestly good. I'll just stick to Nitro. And if anything, I'll watch the Saturday show because I know I'll get some recaps from stuff that not just happened on Nitro, but I'll get some recaps of stuff that happened on Thunder. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'll get some new matches on the Saturday show, but I'm okay. I don't need all that. Even back then, there was just so much wrestling I could take for that respected week before I just went overload circuits of burnout. I think most people around my age back then would definitely agree with that assessment as well. All right, those takeaways as well, that they probably felt the same way as I did. But to see Bret Hart talk about ultimately working with Bill Goldberg, and the way Bill Goldberg, my God, my wife looked over at me with a dropped mouth at some of the things that Bill Goldberg was saying. And she just shook her head and she was like, can you pause that real quick? She's like, we got to talk about this dude. I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, and I mean, she went off on Bill Goldberg. She went off. I personally could not help but feel as though Bill Goldberg, you're how old right now, dude? Your son is how old? Okay, like, this is it. This is probably the final opportunity, in your own words, that you can let the dust be settled on all the controversy there between yourself and Bret Hart. This is your opportunity here where you can finally set the record straight, accept whatever accountability that you had in ending the in-ring career of Bret Hart, while at the same time coming off as a person of great empathy and sympathy, coming off compassionate as a mofo. Because what you're doing right here with this docu-series, this is going to live forever on the web. Long after you are dead, this is going to be out there. If I wish I could have been Bill Goldberg's public relations guy, because I would have told him sympathy, empathy, even if you don't really mean it. Just the fact that this is going to be out there forever. This is going to be more accessible. And as far as the retention time, because, you know, most people, their attention span these days when it comes to watching and listening to something, right? It's very short. Read a book, huh? You're telling me all this is in a book already about WCW? I ain't got time to read no book. That's how most people are going to roll. Now, you present it as a docu-series, okay. That's a different story, especially if you're putting up little snippet clips and everything. That's how I would have sold it to Bill Goldberg. But he came out coming off like an impompous, arrogant jackass. It's the best way I could sum it up. Now, I don't know, to credit, and I'm very curious to hear what Bill Goldberg has to say, because I've yet to see him comment about this, but I'm curious as far as the editing that was done, if it did him justice, or if he essentially was taken out of context, and this is just how things were spliced up, put together. I'm very curious. But it made him come off in a very, very bad light. Oh, well, I said I'm sorry over the years. I mean, what the hell you want me to do? And the part that really bugged me out the most in regards to Bill Goldberg, the part where he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, but he took it amongst himself to say something along the lines of, and since I kicked him in the head, he just feels that he can't wrestle. And I just remember pausing right there and filling in the gaps and giving my wife the rundown on what was going on with Bret Hart. Like, yeah, not only did Bret Hart, because it's something that the docuseries episode 2, something that they did not cover very well, which is the fact that we're not just talking about a damn concussion that Bret Hart had suffered, but because of that concussion, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks later, Bret Hart was riding on his motorcycle and he got hit with a freaking stroke. All because of that damn concussion. So it was so much more than getting a kick to the head. There was a lot more than that. That just said to me how uneducated, how unresourceful Bill Goldberg was in really understanding what all was going on with Bret Hart. Bret Hart didn't choose to, just to take it easy. I'm just going to walk away from the wrestling ring and I'm going to be done with it. Yeah. He couldn't. He couldn't do what he wanted to do. And I mentioned this point. I mentioned this point to my wife, and I said, I got to mention this on the show because it does not get talked about enough on the show. I hardly see this being brought up. But could you guys just close your eyes for a second and imagine if Bret Hart never got that damn kick from Goldberg, got concussed, and then weeks later suffered that damn stroke? Could you just imagine if Bret Hart would have been healthy? Okay, Bret Hart's not feeling what's going on with him in WCW. Who's to say Bret Hart wouldn't have said, okay, you know what? I want out of my contract because this isn't working out. Or he could have just said, you know what? I'm going to go sit my ass at home because you guys don't know exactly what the hell to do with me. So, yeah. But just imagine once when WCW was acquired by the WWE. When the whole Turner AOL deal went down, and make no mistake about it, that deal was finalized in 1996, but it would not materialize. It would not go into effect until that time period in 2001. Just imagine when WWE had came in, purchased WCW, and then you want to talk about the invasion storyline. Okay, you didn't have access to Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan because, hey, they were taking advantage of their contracts and they were sitting on their asses collecting paychecks for X amount of, right? But could you just imagine Bret Hart and the few others? That would have made the invasion angle a little bit better. Just a little bit. Not by much, but it definitely would have made it better than what it came to be. Also, just think about that Attitude Era for a second. Just imagine if Bret Hart would have been part of that. Oh my God. The matches alone with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko. Perry Saturn was a bad mofo in the day. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, renewing the feud there with frickin' Stone Cold Steve Austin. The feud alone with Triple H, Chris Jericho, The Rock. Could you just picture Bret Hart and The Rock going at it. Oh my damn, that man. So many. I know I'm missing a few names, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That, you know, and that essentially would have been Bret Hart truly at his peak / twilight years, and that pretty much would have been all she wrote, you know, or whatnot. Booker T. I got to make sure I show Booker T some love. Ric Flair and frickin' Bret Hart would have been. I'll give you another one that definitely would have been a banger. Randy Orton and Bret Hart. Imagine a Randy Orton and Bret Hart feud. It's just one of those scenarios where you just go, what could have been if it wasn't for all that crap that went down with Bill Goldberg. And the fact that Bill Goldberg still doesn't quite get it. It's like, on the one hand, you're watching Bill Goldberg in this, and I like that scene that they showed where he was wrestling Scott Hall. And, you know, he's botching like a mofo, and Scott Hall says to him, "Kid, what in the hell are you doing?" And Goldberg's like, "I don't know." And Kevin Nash is like, "Yeah, you operating like that, you're not going to be the top guy." No. Was Kevin Nash influenced as a booker when he took booking control away from Eric Bischoff? Was he influenced by, because he was one of the boys, was he influenced by the wrong people, essentially his friends, because they had their own motives? Yeah, without a doubt. But Kevin Nash said it best. Hey, my check was the same. Right, okay, so that's Kevin Nash in a nutshell. Good night, everybody. But I loved how it spun Eric Bischoff, because Eric Bischoff was that glue that was holding everything together. And to see how the higher-ups did him. I mean, he had all these great moments of success with WCW. And then, because he started to have these little hiccups along the way, then you got practices and whoever telling him, no, we kind of want to have the product go in a more family-friendly direction. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he's essentially saying, well, if push comes to shove and we got to take this to Ted Turner, then so be it. I know I'll definitely win this. And, you know, to find out he was under that weird investigation because somebody thinking they were blowing the whistle. Oh, Eric Bischoff is giving these wrestlers 7-figure deals. And in the process, he's getting a kickback from that. The fact that they were not upfront with Eric Bischoff about that, about those allegations, because that's all it was allegations. The fact that they did not let him know, hey, we're letting you know to your face right now, this is the accusation. Here's what's about to happen. Just so you know. So for the next 2 weeks, you need to stay at home. No, they tell him after the fact. Yeah, I'm sure if that would have been you or me or anybody else, we would have been pissed. And it would have been like, wow, you don't trust me? Like, if it's like that, well, hell, yeah, you're going to probably, morale-wise, you're probably going to clock out. You're probably going to say, you know, screw this company. I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears, my back into this. I'm missing so much personal time. And this is how you guys are going to do me? This is how you guys are going to operate? Man, screw you. You just couldn't help but feel for Bischoff in that whole process. You know, I just felt for that guy. And then to hear how ultimately the company did him that fateful day where he was sent home, you're just like, really? This is how you do Eric Bischoff? After 83 weeks and, right, like, this is how you do this guy. After the NWO and Goldberg and, you know, bringing in Bret Hart, bringing in Hulk Hogan, bringing in Lex Luger, bringing in, like, I mean, you fill in the blanks. But when it's all said and done, this is how you do this guy at the end of the day. I cannot wait to watch part 3 episode 3, because episode 3 is going to be dealing with Vince Russo. I cannot wait for that. Some of the clips that they have put online so far are really great teasers. But I love how Eric Bischoff, you really couldn't help but go, yeah, this dude really was busting his ass. He really was trying. Yeah, some of the stuff, not really, some things weren't good. Not everything was perfect. Without a doubt, not everything was perfect. Hey, was he playing buddy chums there with the Hulkster? Yeah, most likely. I mean, make no mistake about it. There's no denying that. There's no denying that. Make no mistake about that. You see me looking a little distracted because I had spilled a little bit of water, but I'm good. The important thing is it did not get in the mixer, because a little secret, my last mixer, unfortunately, had got a nice healthy glass of water, and that mixer ended up not working properly. And luckily, it was under warranty, so all I had to do was just send the mixer back, and I was able to get a brand new one, luckily. But, yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of wiping over here. But, yeah, episode 2, I highly recommend. That was definitely more so up my alley. They're doing good. They're doing good so far, but the Goldberg thing, that really just, I was perturbed. And I tell you this as well, it made me appreciate even more that I was able to see Bret Hart. What was it? I think I saw Bret Hart. Was it last year? I'm trying to remember when I had told you guys about Bret Hart at the Squared Circle collectible store. Kind of feels like maybe it was last year that I met Bret Hart. I'm pretty sure it was last year. It made me that much more appreciative of the fact that I was able to meet one of my wrestling heroes. And I told him how much I appreciated all of his contributions to the business. And, I told him thank you for the memories. I made sure I verbally gave Bret Hart his flowers and everything. But it's just one of those things a lot of people do not talk enough about, which is what could have been for Bret Hart. You see the webcam move, and I'm just getting a little bit more water here. Sorry about that. But it's just one of those things where you think about what could have been for Bret Hart in WWE, especially during that Attitude Era period and everything. So I see that. Give me a second here. Let me just peek under here. See if there's a little bit more water. Yeah, I got a little bit more water. So let me do this. I can do two things at the same time. I can do this and do this real quick. So I see that the trial date is official for, don't worry, I'm almost done, guys, but I just want to make sure I don't get electrocuted here messing around with this water. All right, so I'm going to put that down. I got all the water. So now I can just look directly into the webcam again at you guys. Hello. The official trial date is set for Ted DiBiase Jr. and his fraud case. How is that? Is that better? Let me just see what you guys are looking at here real quick. Yeah, that's better. Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, the trial date has been set for Ted DiBiase Jr.'s fraud case. I don't know how well you guys have been staying connected to this all throughout social media, but this is not good. Remember, DiBiase was charged in April with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and to commit theft concerning programs receiving federal funds. 6 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 4 counts of money laundering in the Mississippi welfare fraud scandal. He had put in a plea of not guilty. Trial originally was scheduled for June 20th before the government filed a motion asking for a delay due to the massive amount of discovery that both sides needed to review. Charges are related to the scandal regarding misappropriation of funds from the Mississippi Emergency Food Assistance Program and the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families programs. If convicted, DiBiase Jr. faces a maximum penalty of 5 years for the charge of conspiracy, a maximum of 20 years for each wire fraud count, and a penalty of 10 years for each count of theft and each count of money laundering. As far as his new trial goes, it's going to be set for January 7th, 2025. The criminal trial will start on January 7th, 2025. There's going to be a pre-trial conference before that that's going to be set for December 13th. So this is not looking good so far for DiBiase Jr. I'm just going to make a bold prediction. I think that with this new phase of discovery and both sides needing to figure out, okay, everything that's been discovered, what do we got here? What are we talking about? I feel that this is going to have some huge implications, definitely some ramifications. And as a result of that, I would not be surprised if DiBiase's lawyers ended up saying, okay, look, you guys kind of got us dead to rights here. So, what's the, make us an offer, right? And I just have this feeling that DiBiase Jr. is going to be able to connect the dots, maybe feed them some bigger fish in the pond. He'll still do some type of jail time. Make no mistake about that. He'll still do some type of jail time. But it'll be a lot lighter than what he's currently looking at. Put it to you this way. I can see it being a case where I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up doing maybe 7 to 10 years in jail. And maybe by doing 5 of those years, he'll be eligible for parole. If he does 5 of those years, then he'll come up eligible for parole. And then maybe he'll get that early release. Like, who knows? Have to wait and see. But that's how I'm looking at things possibly going down for him. One other thing kind of noteworthy here. Did you see what the Insane Clown Posse put out there in regards to CM Punk? Yeah, buddy. CM Punk, Insane Clown Posse. The beef that's been going on pretty much for 20 years, essentially. So you got to rewind it back as far back as the days of when Punk was in TNA back in 2004. That's how long this beef essentially goes. So this is what Insane Clown Posse had to say in regards to CM Punk. Fuck CM Punk for life. You wouldn't shake our hands in TNA, little bitch. And you clown on the only real friend you had in Colt Cabana, you bitch. I shared my bank account with my mom before she passed, you little insensitive bitch. You little heartless alien. Suck my, you little weak bitch. Couldn't beat a jobber in the UFC, and you fucking nearly pathetic little joke. Come beat me up, bitch. You suffer inside everyone. And they mama knows that. Get your head right, you little suffering ass bitch. VJ of Insane Clown Posse. Just as legendary as you, little bitch. Face it. Not my words. Insane Clown Posse, people. Insane Clown Posse. I mean, this just came very left field, yeah? I don't even need to be long-winded with this. Let me tell you something, and this is on the real tip. First of all, I never cared for the Insane Clown Posse. I never cared for them. I never cared for their music. Some would kind of look at what they were doing back in the day and maybe kind of call that maybe new metal, new rap metal. I don't know. But me, I never gravitated towards Insane Clown Posse. I definitely gave Korn. I loved Korn. Such a great band. I gave them time and day, every damn day of the week. Limp Bizkit, I remember that period of time with the hard rock and new metal and everything, rap as well. I remember all that. Fun times. But Insane Clown Posse, I gave two shits not about them. I know they have been involved in the wrestling business for a long time. For a long time. So, yeah, without a shadow of doubt, I'm definitely going to give them their respected flowers as far as, hey, they can definitely tell a newcomer a thing or two about the wrestling business. Definitely not going to dispute that. I would even encourage, yeah, if you got access to tap into their minds and you can pick on their brains for a little bit, yeah, go for it, right? But another thing can be said that's true, which is when you're looking at when someone is having great success, they're doing their thing over here and everything is just, you can look at that and you can be resentful and you can be spiteful at the same time. And you can say some pretty harsh, messed up things about somebody, not even realizing that, wait a minute, man, you know how much time has passed? And I'm still tripping over this? This was so damn long ago, and I'm still tripping over this? Man, I need to move on with my life already. Some people get a certain idea about somebody, and once that idea has really settled in, you can't change their mind about anything else. You can't. It almost reminds me of an episode of Forensic Files. I love watching Forensic Files. Usually, once I pop in my melatonin and I'm trying to chill for the night, I've got Forensic Files on the HON joint, Headline News Network, where this woman had saw a silhouette bedroom door once it was open. She thought it was her husband. She went to sleep. It was kind of like, oh, that's my husband. But all she saw was a silhouette. Next thing you know, whack, whack, whack. She gets whacked over the head. When she finally comes to, she was fighting for her dear life and everything. When she finally comes to, she is more than convinced that it was her husband that had attacked her. Gave riveting testimony, emotional testimony, was able to convince the judge, the jury, that, husband did it. Husband got sentenced to jail. I'm telling you all this for full context. It ties back to what I'm currently talking about, so stay with me. Years go past. Husband catches a break because there's been advancement in DNA. They're finally able to determine that the husband was telling the truth this whole time. He did not do it. It was actually this black dude that did it. But the wife still believes that the husband did beat her. So much so that she's more than convinced that before the husband left out of the house, he beat her. And that he beat her after he came back home. So even though this person did what they did, whacking her over the head, she still believes that, no, it was... Now, some could look at that and say, okay, that's a neurological, or maybe that's just a thing where she just really, there's a part of her that some resentment from her husband, and, there's some stuff that's there that hasn't been squashed between her and that husband. Okay, it is what it is, right? You're looking at this stuff with the Insane Clown Posse, CM Punk, just assuming this is real beef. First of all, for these guys to, and I would think the Insane Clown Posse at this point, I would like to believe they are probably what? If they're not in their mid-50s by now, almost pushing 60, I wouldn't know what to tell you, personally. But, my God, to have beef, to go on and on and on like that, at some point you got to move on with your life. Okay, you know what? This person did me wrong. If we all were to harbor feelings from an individual that had did us wrong 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, we would not be living life because we would be giving them space in our head all day, every day. We're giving them real estate for days, would we not? Would we not? So where the Insane Clown Posse is coming from with this, I think ultimately it is a place of great animosity, definitely some jealousy, and still harboring onto the past. And to that, I say, look, friends come, friends go. There's always a season of change. The sooner that it can be embraced, the better. That's what I personally feel. I don't know about you guys, but that's just what I personally feel. So I see that there's some stuff being said here in the chat. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. There was a sixth person. There was another person. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. And I'm currently looking on X because X is the best place where you can go. Notice how I titled this episode, by the way. I never did put a number out there. I just said Uncle Howdy and his disciples. And I purposely titled it that way because I wasn't sure how many members of this stable was going to show up tonight. So now we're being told that, oh, there's a six. You missed it. You missed it. I could tell you this. One of the last shots that we saw for WWE programming involved everybody coming together for a group pose of this new Wyatt family, or Uncle Howdy and his disciples. And when you're looking at it, you're going, okay, I count 1 head, I count 2 heads, I count 3 heads, I count 4 heads, I count 5 heads. So as far as person number 6 goes, if there was a 6th person, here's the thing. They sure as hell didn't join them when they were doing the pose. So, to be continued as far as next week goes. I'm not going to get lost on, because here's the thing. No matter how hard a lot of us try to pay attention to all the stuff that's happening with backstage workings in WWE, because we know how they like to plant little Easter eggs and all that, we're looking so hard that a lot of times we're looking too hard. And as a result of that, we can miss a very important clue that's staring us right in the face the entire time. And a perfect example of that is, I mentioned it before, go back to last week. A lot of us had missed when Finn Balor grabbed the hotel key card. We were so focused on everything else that was going on, especially the little Rey Mysterio, I'm a deadbeat dad joint, and everything else and what they were talking about, we missed that little swipe of the key card. Some of us might have been looking a little too hard for some Easter eggs in that particular shot. And we didn't miss the most important thing, which was Finn Balor grabbing the key card. So whatever was missed by us as fans tonight when we were watching this in real time, I don't want you guys to beat yourself up. I hope you don't beat yourself up, because it's not that serious. If anything, you just go, oh, wow, I missed something. There was another Easter egg that was referenced that I had missed. If anything, that should challenge yourself and say, okay, let me go back, watch the episode again. Let me see what I had missed. Let me go on X, because there's some really good detectives on X. Let me go out there and see what it was I had missed, if I missed anything. Comment in the chat. I think it was just a crew member caught in the corner that wasn't supposed to be in the shot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I actually rewinded it back when the whole carnage was being shown backstage, and I'm trying to hurry up and take as much notes as I can. And I'm going, okay, this is Nikki Cross. Okay, this looks like Dexter Lumis. And I asked you guys if the other two, if we were able to confirm earlier whether or not that was Eric Rowan and if the other person was Dijak. But, never did hear a follow-up from you guys. It's cool. I'm going to see what my eyes are telling me. And if I think I'm pretty dead on, then I'm going to check to see what my people are saying on X and on forums and everything. But if somebody was supposed to come out, if there was number 6 and somebody was supposed to come out, that group shot at the end, that was the time. Did they have to take a leak? Did they have to take a dump? Were they being talked to by Adam Pearce or Triple H? Were they choked out by Braun Strowman? What was going on with person number 6? Right? I don't mind doing a Wyatt 6 tag or some stuff like that, but you notice how I titled this episode. I said Uncle Howdy and his disciples. That just covers my ass. Right? That's my best advice to you guys. Like, Wyatt 6, Wyatt 5, Wyatt 4, just be like his disciples. Uncle Howdy and his disciples. Uncle Howdy and his freaks. Whatever you want to call it. Just cover everything. That way, when another person is added, you got it covered. You got all your bases covered. It's so plain and simple. As far as programming notes go, I think we're going to do a show for you guys Wednesday or Thursday of this week. I'm trying to map it out still, figure out how we're going to do it. But stay connected on social media. You guys will definitely know how we're going to be doing it. Definitely want to send some love, give shout out. Oh, by the way, before I go any further, shout out to my WWE gamers out there. I'm talking specifically to you WWE 2K24 gamers. I need help from veteran CAW makers. The more experienced you guys are, especially if you are always playing around with textures and all that, uploading stuff, I definitely could use help from you guys because I had remembered literally last night that part of my Christmas gift, besides getting a new Xbox Series X, my wife had got me a gift card, and I forgot that with that gift card, I had purchased WWE 2K24. And so I literally downloaded 2K24 the other day. I don't know how I remembered, but I downloaded it the other day. Actually, I know what happened. I turned on Xbox app on my phone, and somehow I went over to games, and it said something along the lines of, hey, you've got a game ready to download. I'm like, what the hell? What are you talking about? And I saw it was 2K24. So, yeah, I need help from a veteran CAW maker. I'll be willing to pay you a little bit of money, but you got to show me that you know what you're doing. Show me proof of your work and all that. But I would like to hire somebody that could make me in the game, my tattoos, take the show logo, all that stuff, the face, all that stuff, and make it. So if that's you, definitely shoot me an email. You can shoot me an email at the rcwrshow@gmail.com. Make sure you put the THE in there. The rcwrshow@gmail.com. And or you can get at me on the YouTube or on the X, formerly known as Twitter. Just look up the RCWR Show, and you can get my attention that way. Let me give a shout out to some of our sponsors, because without them and their kind contributions, content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. Shout out to the good folks over there at GoAutoBroker.com. That's GoAutoBroker.com. If you're looking to become your own boss while setting your own hours and have an extra or maybe a main source of income, you can become a auto broker, which is an independent salesperson. Learn more by visiting their site today over at GoAutoBroker.com. We're also brought to you in part by the good folks over at JustMoviePosters.com. If you know anyone who just graduated from high school or college, I'm telling you right now, They do not want a funky looking pen or a baseball, or get them something cooler than that, especially if they're a movie buff. What they want is a movie poster. You can find a really cool movie poster at justmovieposters.com. Most of the stuff on their website goes anywhere between $7 to $15. Shipping is extra. Any movie that you can think of that graduate is interested in, that is a fan of, if there's not a poster for it, they can definitely make it for you. And I'm talking great high quality as well. They've been friends of the show for years now, and they've put some really good work out there. So definitely check them out. We're also brought to you in part by ancientsupplements.store. If you need vitamins to help you out with better focus, you're dealing with some type of joint pain, chronic pain, they've got some really great supplements that can help you out. FDA approved, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. So you really don't have anything to lose. Check them out at ancientsupplement.store. One more time, that is Ancient Supplements. That's plural. Make sure you put the extra S at the end there. ancientsupplements.store. And finally, we're brought to you in part by our friends over on Facebook at the Orange and Blue Glory. If you're a diehard Florida Gators fan, check out the Blue and Orange Glory. It's a vibrant Facebook community dedicated to celebrating every touchdown, every victory, every moment of Gator greatness. Love all of these great sponsors that we're working with. Without their kind contributions, content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. Anybody that wants to send me a little something, maybe you want to treat me to a cup of coffee. I've been getting back into coffee as of late. You can definitely Cash App me or PayPal me. Check out the links in the episode description, and you can definitely send love that way. Definitely want to give shout outs to friends of the show. Shout out to my man Julian Cannon of the Nocturnal and Digiday.com. Make sure you show him love. Check out his work as well. Shout out to the boys over there at Wrestling Soup. Shout out to my man Kev Castle. I rarely give him a shout out, but shout out to him. I love his Twitter game. He's got some good stuff going on as far as his Twitter game goes. Love him. Appreciate you guys that's been continuing to show your love and the support. Subscriptions on YouTube, I see that's been going up. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Getting more and more into the YouTube content, especially with the shorts. I've been getting more and more into the shorts, so check that out. We got episodes available for you guys everywhere, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes. We're just wherever you get your podcast. We're literally on that platform. If we're not on that platform, tell me about it. I'll make sure that we are on that platform. You can say, Lee, I'm on this platform listening to wrestling shows, and I don't see your joint on there. I'll make it happen. Just bring it to my attention. But as far as I know, we're wherever you get your podcast. We're all over the place. So just look up keywords, the RCWR Show. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the RCWR Show. And that is going to do it, my pretty babies. Until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Take care, y'all. Peace.